Are you someone who feels as though you shouldn't share the experiences you've had, or the things you've seen, or the voices, or the knowing, the visions, the images, for fear that it may stop your growth or your potential of making money, earning a living? I understand. I completely understand. And that old timeline has passed. You're in a whole new realm now, where authenticity is the key. Sharing from that place is the answer. Co-creating what you wish to see your world and your life to be requires that of you. So don't be afraid. One foot in front of the other. Speak your truth. And just know you're in the right place at the right time, saying the right thing. Hi, and welcome back. It's June the 4th, 2026, and clouds are back. We were met by a crow flying right in front of our vehicle again today. There's so many people out here, though. It makes it really challenging to find places where you can have that grounded presence away from distractions of people. In the distance, there's vehicles driving, and there's all this noise pollution, and it's so hard to find a space and a place that takes you away from that. And yet you can still hear the crickets, you can still hear the birds, and you still feel the wind blowing through and past you. It's about what you notice. It's about what you're willing to set aside and dig into. And that feels like the energy of really honing in, going deep. Hear the crows? And experiencing the present moment, the projection. Whether you're receiving it and mirroring it back, or whether you're projecting it from inside you. It feels as though we're being challenged right now to really put our money where our mouth is. That old saying of, what do you really believe? Where are you coming from? Have you returned to any old patterns? Have you allowed some old thoughts back in, some beliefs? Are you operating from a place of faith and trust and knowing within yourself? Or have you been just so worn down by the entire experience that you're kind of given up. You have this belief still, but you're tired. And so maybe some of your boundaries have lightened up a bit, loosened up in some areas. And maybe you don't even recognize that you not holding your ground is actually taking you once again off course. So return to center, stay focused, really ground yourself in your here and your now and your knowing and your feeling and your sensing, connecting everything that you've worked so hard to come to know, to have awareness and to have autonomy over. Because even if you go off course, you can find your way back. But who has the energy for that? I know I don't. This morning, my soul sister and I were on the phone, and we were talking about some of the images that I had captured in my last video, in the forest and in the sky and on the ground, things that I hadn't really pointed out to anyone. And there's so many throughout all my videos that I have kept separate. And it's interesting because we had this discussion on why that is. Why that I only go so far in sharing or expressing what I see and what I experience. And I'm fully aware that it is this holding back so that I don't share too much, or that I don't somehow destroy my possibilities and my future, basically limiting myself to a certain genre, to become a certain person, to be pigeonholed. Because I feel as though that has been our lives for so long, that if you say one thing or do one thing, you become that one thing, as opposed to the whole myriad of aspects of self that you are, that we are. And we talked a lot about pareidolia and how, well, me especially, I talked about how psychology and psychiatry, based on systems and institutions and organizations, like we've said in other videos, pathologize, they other. That's not supportive and helpful. It others people. And when you see someone be othered, you realize the consequences that cause that person to be shunned, to be pushed to the outside, to be pigeonholed. And the alternative is conformity and compliance. That you don't go too far in sharing what you see or feel or think or experience or know. You keep it within this center lane, within the boundaries, within the goalposts of what society allows. And the crow confirms, oh, right there. Nice. And so keeping it within these goalposts makes sense. When you are in the middle of an institution or society or structure that has real power over your future, over your life. But having shifted into a new timeline space where things are more open, more fluid, sharing then becomes safer. Sharing then does not limit, does not restrict, does not other. So what does that do to people? Well, the more that you see someone being othered, like we said, the less likely you are if the consequence is something that you do not wish to have happen to you. So you withhold. And so instead of seeing and experiencing the environment and interpreting what you see and sharing it, you keep it to yourself. You don't openly express what you are feeling, sensing, knowing, engaging with. You just silently pathologize yourself. And unless you have an outlet where you can express this, talk about this, it does leave deep roots within you of self-doubt, of thinking that there's something wrong with you, that maybe that psychology, psychiatry, and I'm not saying everyone within those fields, I'm talking about diagnoses, pathologizing, labeling things, then stereotyping. Those limiting ways of viewing the world restricts your growth and evolution. So pareidolia, for example, we've talked about this so many times, especially in my earlier videos. Pareidolia is a natural brain, human reaction. When you see something, it's like trying to flip through a script of identifying what that is. What does that look like? How does that make sense? And so often you'll see something in a rock, a tree, a cloud, like I've shown you so many times, an image that then elicits a feeling attached to the image that you've seen. And it does come from past experiences, a culmination of knowledge. It is the integrating your knowledge into wisdom through experience, and now you're seeing it. Could be influenced by your daily activities or what's been happening in your world or what you've just watched. Everything is influencing one another, the interconnectedness. And yet, identifying that you're seeing something, that you are noticing or hearing or smelling, you're having these extrasensory experiences, may be used against you in the sense that there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with the fact that you are not conforming and complying with the way the world has been trained to be, how you have been taught to behave within it. And the more that you challenge that, the greater chances of your diagnoses being enhanced. It's helping to compartmentalize you, compartmentalize your experience so that it can be explained and addressed, often through medication, could be through some kind of modality of therapy, something to help you to break through that barrier so you can conform and comply. And in many cases, having that identified for you, recognizing that this is something that requires some support or assistance to make you feel better, is certainly going to feel beneficial. Because at least you feel that there's others who've had similar experiences, and when they went through this or did that or followed that protocol, they had some relief. But what's not helpful is stifling a person's ability to interpret the environment around them without gaslighting them, without telling them it's not what they see or what they think or what they feel it to be. That it's something else, that's an internal struggle, that, you know, only that, and you really need to work to resolve that, as opposed to just noticing it and experiencing it and interpreting it, taking it in, not carrying it with you, but using it as somewhat of a goalpost, like a sign or a symbol. It could be growth. It could be a warning. It could be something that is just suggesting to you from an inner place of knowing this way, not that way, and trusting yourself. And moving now from a place where only one way of seeing the world exists to all the infinite possibilities and potential, we have to have a new language. We have to consider the fact that Old ways don't work. That's why people continue to be unwell, to get sicker, to feel more pain and struggle and strife, to self-harm, because they don't feel as though they fit, they don't belong, because their ability to conform and comply at the level at which is expected is inhuman. And we're human. We have individual and unique experiences. And some require different support and engagement, absolutely. And at the same time, allowing the experience to show what it's going to show without judging it in such a way that you other someone and you deny them their basic human instinct to connect with their environment. So the next time someone shares something that feels outlandish to you, just take a moment, step back, and recognize that you're part of an old problem, an old pattern, an old cycle, an old system that seeks to other people. And by you saying something that alienates or isolates or judges, criticizes, you're part of that problem. Being in a present state of acknowledging and noticing and sitting with people who are having experiences, that is helpful. That is helpful. Pushing them to the outside of what you believe to be right or wrong, that's self-serving. The wind has picked up and confirms. You go, girl. So if you do nothing else but to ponder that, to ponder the idea that noticing things, sharing things, experiencing things helps to unify people rather than isolate and alienate, then maybe the next time someone shares something that feels very outlandish to you, you just listen, you just pay attention. And so for me, ever since I started this channel, I've been challenging that internal struggle of my own, of not sharing too much, sharing just enough. Sometimes I feel as though, oh my gosh, I will never be able to do this, this, or this. Then at the same time, I ask myself, do I want to? Do I want to be accepted into that old world, old paradigm, the way that things used to be? So limiting, singular way of doing things? No. So every time you do something that makes you feel uncomfortable or you think you've overshared, that feeling, if you came from a place of authenticity, being genuine, not attacking someone or criticizing something, but just sharing from a place of the real true experience you're having, ask yourself, what is wrong with that? And why do you feel like there is a problem? If it wasn't carrying old beliefs that say it's a problem. Because living in a whole new world we're co-creating, where we speak our truth in a way that is authentic and about our feelings, not about someone else. The crows confirm. That's the way forward. So don't be afraid. Just trust and know that it's all for a reason and it's all meant to be. Thanks everyone for being here, for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, and for not being afraid to use your authentic voice, to speak your truth, to share your experiences, and to trust that inner knowing. So until next time, stay safe, stay connected, and we'll see you really soon. Bye.